So we've seen enormous growth in this sector over the last few years. It's a sign of the confidence that the industry has in the UK renewable market, but also more broadly in consumer confidence in the transition to renewables. Actually helping industry on this pathway is going to be key if we're going to ever get to decarbonising our economy, achieving net zero and onwards. So it's really important that we give support to this sector, especially to our domestic manufacturers, many of whom are represented here today. Solar Energy UK very kindly invited me along to give some thoughts. I used to work in the solar sector for the better part of a decade before I accidentally got elected to Parliament. So I thought maybe it was an interesting opportunity to talk about some of the risks and opportunities that the next Parliament presents, but also more broadly in the sector. And I think, we have to be critical friends to each other, and the sector should be telling parliamentarians what they need and what they want from the government in order to support the sector. And it's important also that I think Parliament and parliamentarians talk to the sector about the changes that we want to see, because ultimately any pathway to net zero involves us working hand in glove together. Well, the Labour government is bringing forward legislation around its idea of building a state or partially state-owned GB energy generation company that's going to be generating clean energy. That's incredibly important to the transition. I'm personally in favour of the state owning and operating our generation assets and decoupling us from imports from overseas, especially from high-risk countries where the energy price is then directly affected by geopolitical risks. So actually, there is nothing more guaranteed than the sun rising tomorrow. So actually, having solar generation is the best way of guaranteeing local guaranteed generation at an affordable price. That's a beautiful thing. We need to be, as an industry, selling the upsides of the transition to renewable, which is lower energy prices for households. So we need to start talking about that positive message, getting the public behind this transition, helping them understand that it's not just about carpet bombing the place with solar panels or onshore wind or anything like that. It's about getting us to a much lower household energy bill cost. Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity for UK solar. We're seeing some fantastic flag carriers, British businesses that are growing exponentially, that are proud to carry the Made in Britain badge. We really need to help those domestic manufacturers. I want us to be buying from Britain to help support the economic growth of those businesses and more broadly the renewable sector. Recognising, of course, that there's always going to be supply chain issues. We're going to have to bring in parts manufactured abroad, but if we can manufacture domestically, that's great for Britain as a whole. So I think there's lots that we can be doing to support those manufacturers. Well, I've been fortunate enough to work in the solar sector for the better part of a decade and have been coming here for an awfully long time. I'm old enough to remember when we were just sort of small corner of a room and it was still a 3-day event, but you could get around it in 2 hours. So it's wonderful to see it so huge. But I think, ultimately we need people who are going to shout from the rooftops about what a brilliant sector solar is, how important it is to decarbonising the British economy. And so I'm really just here to show my support for all of our domestic manufacturers, the sector as a whole, Solar Energy UK, and just say that there are voices for this sector in Parliament. We're going to help you grow, we're going to help the economy decarbonise, but we've got to be doing it together.